Good evening. Thank you for coming. I'm Frank Gordon. I'm with San Stino and the Shingle Springs Community Alliance. Welcome and thank you for attending our 4th community meeting. It's great to see the community support our efforts to keep Shingle Springs rural. If you got here just now and you don't know where the bathrooms are, ladies' rooms are outside down the hallway. Men's room is outside the building by the corner. So we need to make a disclaimer. Discovery Hills Church is a wonderful asset to our community. Please note, Discovery Hills Church is not affiliated with Shingle Springs Community Alliance, San Stino, and Stop Tilden Park organizations. This is the agenda for tonight. Got our traffic lights on our slides. Greens are wins and positive accomplishments. Those are items that are still in work and final outcome has not yet been determined. The red are things that didn't go in the community's favor. Also, we have a survey that we ask everyone to complete so that we know what actions the community will support. We'll go over updates on our past actions, or what's basically a timeline, what's occurred and how we got here, options for future actions, a report on the progress of completing the Shingle Springs Community Plan, the future political outlook due to the upcoming supervisor race and the possible vacancy of a seat. There will be several presenters presenting. We ask that you hold your questions till the end of our presentation. So this is basically a timeline of what's occurred and how we got here. Shingle Springs is still under siege. Community region lines remain in the general plan. Canizel's Body Shop was approved adjacent to a neighborhood. The Sunset Lane Apartments and the billboards were approved under the radar. The application for Tilden Park Hotel development off of Chaparral Drive is still under review. And the 1,041 unit San Stino development application is still active. So the community wakes up and says enough. Stop Tilden Park was organized. The San Stino group organized. There's information available at nosanstino.com. We are working collectively as the Shingle Springs Community Alliance. Information is available on the Shingle Springs Community Alliance website. On January 16th, we held our first community meeting at the Shingle Springs Community Center and informed the community about San Stino, Tilden Park, and the target the community region line places on Shingle Springs for high-density development. We collected petitions to keep Shingle Springs rural, remove the community region line, and support the community plan. We began lobbying the Board of Supervisors to remove the community region line. We also asked to increase the project's notification requirement to an area greater than 500 feet from the boundaries of a proposed development. For those of you that have attended our past meetings, you are aware that when the development comes to the area, the only requirement is that residents within 500 feet from the outside boundary of the development are notified. So given the fact that we all live in a rural area and our parcels are quite large, unless you're directly adjacent to that area, you will not know. That's why you know now. We found out about it through social media. We let the word out. Also at a Board of Supervisors meeting on February 26th, the board rejected funding an environment impact review for the San Stino developer. However, the developer funded its own EIR. We pressed the Board of Supervisors for early project denial of the San Stino development. Our attorney, Joel Ellenwood, wrote a letter to the county on the process for early denial. There was no response whatsoever. On March the 14th, we held our second community meeting. We had over 300 people attend. That was awesome. For you folks that came out, thank you so much. At the meeting, we held a workshop on how to respond to the San Stino Environmental Impact Report, Notice of Preparation, which was called the NOP, or as I called it, NOPE. Through the workshop, hundreds of written comments were generated and submitted to the county and the developer. And thank you all for your comments on that. We gathered more signatures for our petitions to remove the community region line. We continued to lobby the Board of Supervisors for the CRL removal. Our attorney wrote a letter to the Board of Supervisors and the county on the process to remove the CRL. Again, there was no response whatsoever from the county. We met with the San Stino developer, and as a result, the developer hired MIG Incorporated, a consultant and facilitator, to conduct a workshop with the Shingle Springs community. On June 5th, we hosted our third community meeting here at Discovery Hills Church. Approximately 300 people attended. We updated the meeting attendees on the San Stino and Tilden Park projects. We also held stations laid out for the community to come to a consensus on design standards for Shingle Springs. Our community meetings are videotaped and are available for viewing on the nosanstino.com and the shinglespringscommunity.com websites. If you would like to view these videos, write down the dates on the meetings. They are January the 15th, March the 14th, and June the 5th. So if you go to any of those websites, you can look them up based on those dates. On June 27th, the Board of Supervisors held a land use workshop. County staff presented options for an early review of projects that require general plan amendment. Staff also presented a study on the effect of the impact of changes to the community region lines. Again, our attorney's letters were never acknowledged. The Board of Supervisors voted 5-0 for a work plan and cost report and sent it back to county staff. On July 11th, MIG Incorporated, the consultant facilitator hired by the San Stino developer team, hosted a community meeting here at Discovery Hills Church. Residents lined up to speak out against the scale and the density of the project. 189 pages of written comments were submitted to the facilitator and the developer. So, the San Stino developer and MIG Incorporated held a workshop limited to 8 Shingle Springs residents and San Stino development team. The first workshop was held on September the 14th. This was basically a blank slate workshop where ideas and options for San Stino were discussed. A follow-up workshop was held on October the 16th. Each of these workshops were labeled as community workshops, and I disagreed with that. A final option of 690 units for the San Stino development was presented. Both workshops were announced on the No San Stino Facebook page and the Shingle Springs Community Alliance Facebook page. We wanted open transparency, so we let the community know about these by invitation only workshops. Here's a quick video snippet of the meeting. The sound quality and video quality is somewhat poor, so in the event you can't understand what's said, we've added a slide with the quotes of the statements made. And hopefully this is audible. So hopefully y'all heard that. Was it audible or? No. Okay. So again, what was presented at the meeting was architecture, mailboxes, roads. We looked at it. It was all interesting. This is what the facilitator chose to present to us. And basically we stated we can't talk for the community. You need to have another community meeting. That's why, I said, I have a huge heart for when I see this say that this is a San Stino community meeting. This is not a community meeting. The 8 of us do not represent you, all right? You guys are the community, and eventually the developer, I'm expecting, will hold a meeting to show what they plan for San Stino. So that's basically what was shown on that video snippet. I basically said, we can say here that we're willing to accept 200 or 300 homes. That's not our place. We're not the community, once again. So on September the 30th, the Board of Supervisors held a special meeting on land use. The meeting went on for a long 12 hours. The developer community was well represented. There were a lot of developers there at the Board of Supervisors. We asked for more comprehensive notification of projects. Again, we asked for the early review of projects requiring a general plan amendment. Again, we asked for the removal of the community region line. All the issues were re-referred back to the county planning staff. To date, there has been no final determination of these items. You've all heard of what a circular file is. That seems the way it goes in the county. Everything's in a circular file and everything gets sent right back to planning. So with that, I'll give you to Lori Parlin.
Thank you, Frank. So Frank did a great job of laying out for you what we've been doing as a community with the county over this past year. And now the big question is, where do we go from here? We've been hearing from you, the community, that you want to take some action. And we realize that we need to make it very clear what some of those options for action are. So some of them are recall, there's initiative, referendum, litigation, and then also a community plan amendment to the general plan. We're going to have presenters come up and give that information to you. We're going to call it Citizen Action 101. And then when we're done tonight, we need you to fill out those citizen action surveys that you all got when you came in on your seats, because we need to know what the community wants to do. What are you willing to do? And it's going to come from that survey. So we need it filled out tonight, and that's going to set the direction for the course of the next year on what we're going to do. It's really important. That's why we're here tonight. So there was a handout on the seat also that the front page says agenda. And if you look through that, there's all this information on the recall initiative referendum, okay? That's the detailed information that's going to be up on the screen. It's a lot of information. So the presenters are going to come up, and they're just going to give you the summary, the heart of what's entailed in each of these items. And then you get the handout, you can take it home, digest it, read it over before you fill out that survey. And we need you to make a decision on what you're willing to do in the next year. So.
No, you have to do the survey tonight.
Did I not say do it tonight?
I said do it in a year.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant what we're going to do this coming year with the information that you fill out on the survey. I said it wrong. I'm sorry.
That you have to turn in tonight.
Yes, we need this survey tonight so that we know what we're doing this coming year. Does that make more sense?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. In my head, it sounded awesome, you guys. So, who's our next person now? I lost track. I got thrown off. We're doing recall as the first one, and I believe that's Bill Staddy.
Thank you, Lori. My name is Bill Staddy, Shingle Springs resident. Like all these other volunteers, I'm using my own personal time to try to help out the community here. And I'm glad to have the opportunity to do it. I'm here to tell you how a recall works. And basically, there's 5 supervisors, and it takes 3 of them to vote for anything as far as land use goes. It takes 3 of them to approve a development, for example. It takes 3 of them to turn it down. Regardless, it takes 3 of the 5 for anything that you want to do. Shingle Springs has 2 supervisors. We have Ron Briggs, District 4, who terms out December 2014. Ray Nutting, District 2, who terms out December 2016. When you do a recall, you cannot recall somebody during the last 6 months of his term. recall is a preemptive move if a recall were to be undertaken. And there's a lot of steps as far as what you would have to do a recall. Needless to say, I'm not going to go over all of these steps. They're available if you'd like to go into detail. But a recall basically takes a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and a huge commitment. Signatures have to be collected. They have to be collected in the districts in which people vote. The community would either have to spend a lot of time collecting signatures or a lot of money to get ballots and petitions mailed out in order to get collect signatures by mail. In the event of a recall, there would be 2 questions on the ballot when it comes to vote. First question would be yes or no for the recall. The second question would be if there is in fact a recall, who do you want to be seated as the new supervisor? It's very important, after all that work in the event of a recall, that we have a replacement supervisor who will be willing to work for and vote with and for the community, not for the developers. Remember, it all comes down to 3 votes to deny or approve a project. It is in all of our, or most of our best interest to have 3 supervisors who are willing to vote for the community, who are willing to stand up to developers. Remember, we have to have 3. If we don't have 3, if the developers have 3, then we lose. So next up is another one of our neighbors, Shelley Wiley.
Okay, hi. I'm just going to give a really brief discussion of the initiative process. Basically, an initiative is where people can pass laws by gathering signatures. These laws can include general plan amendments and rules determining land use. There are several steps for an initiative, which include the community and the county's participation. Signatures from 10% of county votes in the last election for governor must be collected within 180 days. For our county, this amounts to approximately 7,756 signatures. After the required signatures have been collected, the county has to prepare an extensive staff report that responds to all of the potential issues. If we gather enough signatures, the supervisors will have the option to adopt the initiative. Otherwise, it will be voted on in a county-wide election. As a side note, at this time, Rural Communities United is working on an initiative to reinforce Measure Y. This Measure Y means no projects can be approved if there's gridlock unless the developers pay to fix the problem. Rural Communities United is coming in front of the Board of Supervisors on December 10th of this year. If you're interested in this initiative, I would attend that meeting on December 10th. Shingle Springs Community Alliance has also written a draft initiative that can be found on the SSCA website if you're interested. Like a recall, an initiative is also a preemptive move. We would be writing our own law that the county and the developers must follow. And of course, there's more detail in your handouts, and that's all I'm going to cover for an initiative. Mike Drobish will present information on a referendum.
Good evening. I'm Michael Drobish from Placerville, and I'll be speaking to a referendum system because we did one not that long ago in Placerville and it was successful. So I'm not going to read each of the panels here, but basically a referendum is a recall or a put it to a vote action in response to, and the campaigning begins for the election. Lots of money and effort will be spent both for and against, especially against. Now, just give you a little background on what we did in Placerville. Basically, an ordinance is passed with 2 readings. So I believe that it's very important at the first reading, if the ordinance looks like it's going to pass, you know it's going to be the same on the second vote. You get your legal document written between the first and second readings. So it's very important to have the right lawyer write up it's a legal document. This is what you will take door to door and at the supermarkets to gather signatures. In the back is the place for the signatures. Within this document is all of the legal language of the ordinance passed that you are showing to the voters. This is something we would like to be put to a vote or to be repealed. So this is very important. If you do get to this point, you have to have the right people take charge of these things. Our group met weekly, sometimes a couple times a week, and we strategized and we showed our progress. And make no doubt, it's not easy walking this county, so you have to plan and you have to be steadfast and you have to be diligent and hit it hard constantly, because do not let hours slip away. Do not think I can do this on the weekend, I'll gather it up. Have a goal, try and get 2 a night, try and get 3, 5 a night, whatever, try and get 20 on a weekend, what have you. But stick with it, go to your meetings, strategize. You can get the disc of information from elections, break it down into neighborhoods, hit your dense neighborhoods first. That's easy pickings, low fruit. But it is hard to walk the county, but just remember, hey, you'll get in shape. You'll meet your neighbors. And you will be participating in the single greatest self-government system the world has ever known. And always remember that governmental direction is driven by those who participate. So I'd like to introduce the lawyer, Mr. Joel Ellenwood.
Thank you, Mike. It's important to hear success stories. So Mike's positive experience in Placerville is instructive. The same kind of success can be had with the recall, the initiative measures as well. It takes the same kind of organizational effort and commitment, but it can be done. And Mike was here to say that it has been done successfully here in El Dorado County. I'm a lawyer, so I've been tasked with addressing litigation. But I'm here to tell you, first of all, that a lawsuit means that you've already lost. You're filing a lawsuit because an action has been taken by the governing body, in this case the County Board of Supervisors, that you disagree with, that you want to reverse, and you're going to ask the courts to do it. And you can't actually file a lawsuit until the action has been taken. You can't have a preemptive strike, as we've talked about, for a recall, referendum, or initiative. Well, recall is not preemptive either, but it has a very short time frame. So, but the most important work, I tell my clients, for the kind of lawsuit that's involved in land use, is done before the action is taken. It is building an administrative record, putting facts in front of the decision makers that are going to be part of the record that goes in front of the court. And so this community and Shingle Springs Community Alliance in its leadership deserves high praise for the volume of participation and the commitment of the citizens of this community to send letters to the Board of Supervisors, to respond to notices of preparation of environmental impact reports. There will be a draft environmental impact report circulated for various projects that will be coming before the board. It's important to review that and to submit your written comments to those. That's what builds the administrative record, and it's the administrative record on which a lawsuit is won or lost. The problem with, so the work that the community is doing now and has already been done is critically important if you get to the litigation stage. The problem with litigation is, from a community organizer's perspective, from a political perspective, is that you're putting all of your faith and your money behind a few lawyers instead of staying organized and keeping up the political pressure. Litigation has a lot of potholes, it's expensive, it takes a long time, the results are highly unpredictable, and even if you win, the political battle just begins all over again. Because with land use decisions, what happens is the courts rarely make a definitive decision about approving or denying a project. That's a legislative act that they're going to refer back to the county to make, but based on new rules that the court declares if it overturns the decision that's been made already. So staying organized, staying focused while the lawsuit goes on, and it can go on for a year or 2 years, is critically important. And don't invest all of your expectations in winning in just on the lawsuit itself. However, I have to say, being prepared to sue and having the means to do it effectively is itself power. It's power that you can use in negotiations and lobbying with the Board of Supervisors. They know that you're ready, willing, and able to sue if you have to. And in having discussions with developers about possible changes in the project that might make it more acceptable to the community. So if you have to sue to save your community, by all means, don't be afraid to do it. Just realize that you can't put all your eggs in that basket and to expect to win a lasting victory. The slides list various steps in a lawsuit. It's a lot of technical detail that if you're interested in is available in the handouts. The slides will be available also on the website. So if you have questions about it, you can ask me afterwards or send in emails, questions to Shingle Springs Community Alliance, and we'll get back to you. But the important message is to do all the hard work ahead of time and to stay organized and focused and to stay strong throughout the litigation process. I'll be happy to address any questions later. And now I believe we're going to move on to an update on the process of community planning. Oh, I guess I'm supposed to give a commercial here. In other words, have your resources marshaled ahead of time. Regardless of what lawyers you hire, and if you win, there's a possibility of getting attorney fee award back from the county, but you can't count on getting the best legal talent if they're going to be starving while they're waiting for the possibility of winning. So it's always a good idea to have a war chest if you need to go into litigation. So that's the commercial. And now we'll go into the community plan. Thank you.
All right, so our last action option is the community plan. The Shingle Springs Community Alliance has been working to develop a community plan to take back control of our community and plan our future. Because we've been told at the county that if we don't develop a plan, their county will make one for us. We have been and continue to reach out to the community, that's all of you, for input to create a plan that represents the business owners, the residents, the landowners, the schools, and all our other public services. And if you haven't had a chance to participate yet, you can still go on our new website. I've set up a separate website specifically for the community plan. It's shinglespringscommunityplan.org. And there's some surveys on there that you can fill out, and you can see the results of the surveys that we've done so far. I think as I said before, on the handout that you received, the first page has the agenda. And if you look at the back of the agenda, there is an outline, and it's the outline of the Shingle Springs Community Plan so far today. So this is the basic outline, and we're filling in all the parts as we speak. And we're constantly gathering input, and when we're ready, we'll be putting the draft out. We haven't decided how we're going to do that, most likely electronically, because that's the easiest. But there'll be a draft out for comment, and then we plan to take that to the board someday. I'd like that to be part of our general plan to protect our future. So, all right, this is our current general plan map of Shingle Springs. And a lot of you have heard this before, but not everybody has. I want to make sure everybody knows this. This red line here, that's our community region line. And within a community region line, the county plans to put the highest intensity of self-sustaining, compact, urban-type development or suburban-type development within the county, within that red line in Shingle Springs. So that red line, that community region line, it makes Shingle Springs a target for high-density development. Okay, this is the first time we've actually presented this map to the community, so if I'm not clear, I'm sorry, I'm going to do my best. This is the general plan map that we are proposing for Shingle Springs. Okay. In the current general plan, all land must have a land use designation. We do not want to be a target for high-density development, so we're proposing to remove the community region line. In its place, we propose, see the red line, the blue dotted line there? Okay, that's called a rural center line. We're proposing to add the rural center line for Shingle Springs. Within it will be our commercial, industrial, and multifamily land use designations, and that is the town site core of Shingle Springs. Then surrounding that core is all of our medium density land in Shingle Springs, and we're proposing a platted lands overlay, this new red line. And the reason it's called a platted lands overlay is, according to the general plan that we have right now, you can't have medium density land out here with the low density land in a rural region. Therefore, if we have the platted lands overlay, it's like an exception to the rule based on current zoning. And according to the white paper on community region lines that Roger Trout presented to the Board of Supervisors, that platted lands overlay with our rural center will make this proposed map compliant with the current general plan, and it should make it easier to get it adopted as part of the general plan for the county. Did I do pretty good?
Absolutely.
All right. And it's a little bit confusing, but it's important that we make that clear. We do not want to be a target for high-density development, bottom line. All right. So this is our tentative map of the boundary for Shingle Springs. It's tentative because it's not in place yet, but we're proposing it. We, the group that put it and brought it tonight, we call it Star Map because we'd like each and every resident, if you consider yourself a resident of Shingle Springs, we'd like you to put a star sticker on the map. It's at the back of the room so that we know that you want to be included in this boundary map when it's adopted by, as part of the general plan. Coming up in January, on January 14th next year, 2014, we're going to be presenting the Shingle Springs Community Plan conceptual overview. It'll be very brief, just conceptual overview, and an outreach program. We're going to present that to the Board of Supervisors. And that conceptual overview will include star map, because the first step in creating a community plan is to figure out what your boundaries are. So on January 14th at 2 p.m., which will be coming up pretty quick, at the Board of Supervisors, we would love to have you there if you can make it, for your support for our new community plan. So I'd like to introduce Tim. Where is he? Take a look at our future political outlook.
Thanks, Lori. Okay, future political outlook. So again, the land use here in Shingle Springs and across the county is governed to a large extent by the decisions of the Board of Supervisors. We have 5 supervisors, 3 votes for or against determines public or land use. And here in Shingle Springs, we have 2 supervisors. We have District 4, which covers the northern part of the county and dips into the northern part of Shingle Springs. Ron Briggs is our supervisor for District 4. We have District 2, which covers the southwest portion of the county and comes up and encompasses the southern part of Shingle Springs. And basically, Mother Lode going west to Highway 50 is a rough boundary between District 4 to the north and District 2 to the south. Our supervisor for District 2 is Ray Nutty. And depending on the outcome of some legal issues, there is a potential for that seat for District 2 to be vacated. In that event, there'll be a special election to fill the vacated chair for District 2. Okay, that's critically important. And we assume that special interests, including developers, may already have a potential candidate in mind. So we as a community need to be vigilant, we need to keep an eye on that. And if indeed that chair does open up, there will be a special election. It's going to be quick, 90 to 120 days. That election needs to be held, so we'll need to keep our eye on that to make sure that we get someone into the board that will keep the interests of our community in mind. District 4, again, Ron Briggs is the supervisor for District 4. He terms out at the end of next year. And so next year we have an important election. The primaries, I believe, are in June. And so we have the opportunity to vote in a supervisor to represent us at the county. So far, there's been 8 candidates that have provided notice that they're going to run for the Board of Supervisors representing District 4. And as you can see, there are the names and locations at the bottom of the slide. As you can see, most of those candidates live nowhere near Shingle Springs. The last candidate listed does live in Shingle Springs, and I can tell you she does have an interest. She does have the interests of the community in mind by virtue of the fact that she founded Shingle Springs Community Alliance. All right, I appreciate your patience. We're going to wrap it up, and here to wrap it up is Susan Stady.
All right, like Tim said, we're about to lock things up here, and it is about 7:45. We said we'd have you out of here by 8, so we will stick true to that promise. Before we let you go, a couple of quick things. First off, those action surveys. Please make sure you get those filled out tonight. It is the reason why we are here this evening. So please get those taken care of. I'm not sure if we're going to let you leave unless you hand it over, actually. Secondly, I want to make sure everybody is fully aware that unlike certain individuals in the county that receive a paycheck to look out for the interests of our community, all of these meetings that we've done, tonight's meeting, are all done by our community volunteers. So with that, I would like to give some thank yous out. First off, Lori Parlin. Lori, thank you so much for your leadership, for heading up the Shingle Springs Community Alliance, for making it your full-time, unpaid job to protect our community. Thank you, Lori. Frank Virden, for heading up the No San Stino group. He took the lead on that. He has stuck with it. Thank you, Frank, for your leadership as well. Joel Ellenwood, our brilliant land use attorney. Thank you. Those of you that make donations, whether at the meetings, in between the meetings, thank you so much for that. With that type of help, that's what helps to make these meetings happen, so thank you very much. Our wonderful volunteers who stand up when the action alerts come out to deliver the flyers, to make the phone calls, to do the emails, to sit in board meetings, supervisor board meetings from 2 to 10 hours at times. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The people with their signs that put it on their personal properties, that have posted those homemade signs, the people that have painted your vehicles and sometimes your pets for the cause. Thank you so much. And thank everyone for being here tonight. All of these efforts, big and small, together we are going to help to keep Shingle Springs rural. So thank you so much. I open it up now to the comments. Like I said, we will lock it up at 8 o'clock sharply. I am the group timekeeper. And I will turn the mic over to... Oh, sorry. Last but not least, we do have t-shirts and bumper stickers. So thank you, everybody.
Are you ready?
Don?
I'm not familiar with the process too much of recall or your petitions or the signatures. If I'm in Supervisor Nutting's district, can I sign my name to recall Briggs?
No.
Darn,
In the back.
Beat you to it. I got one.
My name is Gene Altshuler. I live in Tilden Park. I've been involved in community activism for the last 12 years here since moving. Let me make two very quick comments, not a comment. Very quick, I promise you. First comment is, you wouldn't be in this position if we had really good boards of supervisors who would not vote for this stuff, who would vote against it. Therefore, the elections coming up are critically important. Just as Joe cautioned you to get ready for things like litigation, you cannot sit back and pray that a good candidate with the community's interests in mind will come forward, who will have enough money, $50,000 to $125,000, to run for a supervisory seat. And be prepared to go out and work for that candidate, and find the candidate, and review the 9 names who will sort down to 1 or 2. Second thing, everything done here I stand in awe of. The volunteers, this group has done an amazing job. I've watched Camino go down in flames over the reservoir issue. I've watched all sorts of things. The recall for Sweeney, which came 500 heartbreaking signatures too short. But it's all reactive rather than proactive. And you are now developing a community plan. Should have been done years ago, but there wasn't a sense of urgency. There is a long-term view, which is being worked on by people within your community and in other areas of the county to develop a long-range economic plan that does not emphasize residential rooftops. That's where the problem comes in. That's where the traffic comes in, and that's what the developers want to do with their land. So I say, spend 95% of your attention to getting this stuff stopped, but 5% of it to a long-range strategic view when it comes up. So, thank you. I'm sorry I took too much.
Where does Measure Y come into this for the traffic proposed for both of these subdivisions?
Yeah. Right now, the the Measure Y proponents are in a dialogue with the county and its staff about what Measure Y's impact actually is. They have revealed that Caltrans has established that level of service F, or gridlock, occurs on Highway 50 near the western boundary of the county, and that there are no plans for improvements or capacity, extra lanes that would change that. No plans and no funding that would change that over the next 20 years. The significance of that is that Measure Y, read strictly, means that no additional residential development should be approved unless the developers actually fund improvements that would remove the levels of service F, which would be obviously tens, hundreds of millions of dollars. So effectively, the Measure Y group has said that there is an effective moratorium on large residential development in the county. That's in dispute, I think, with county staff. It's not necessarily been established to the satisfaction of the Board of Supervisors, one way or the other. And that's why the Rural Communities United, which includes the original proponents of Measure Y and then various other community organizations, are drafting an initiative that would extend and reinforce the limitations stated in Measure Y. Have I answered your question? Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Question, comment? So the big, again, I'm gonna repeat myself and I'm gonna repeat everybody else. The big reason that we brought you all out tonight was to remind you of everything that we've done as a community over the past year. Now we need to figure out what we're doing next. So those surveys that you have in your hand are so important. So please get those filled out, turn them in on your way out. Frank's right there, he'll tackle you if you don't give him one. Anybody else? All right, I think Sue wants to make a comment.
Hi, I'm Sue Taylor, and I've kind of been involved in a lot of different community groups, and when Jean mentioned recall, we were part of that group that tried to recall one of our supervisors, and we didn't have anybody when we started out like this group has. We probably started out with 10 people, and we had to have 4,000 signatures, and we got all about 300 to 400 of them, which was huge. We didn't get the recall, but what it did do was tie up that supervisor for about a year. We did it at the beginning of his 4 years, so he had 3 more years to get over it. If you were to do it to Briggs, this is a lame duck year for him. There's a lot of things he can do in the coming year. And you need to think about how they have voted. He was the swing vote for the Mercy Housing Project that they did behind Leeds Feed. And my frustration with that, I protested at the Board of Supervisors against that because they spent $350,000 per apartment for low-income housing. So if you can think what the funds that they could have done with that for our community to help those in need would have gone a lot longer. Mainly it was outside, basically an outside industry that made a lot of money off of that. And it's not, there are other things that you need to look to. And so I've been involved in I helped Mike with the referendum that we did in Placerville. We keep learning. You have to be ahead of the game. And we had a really good lawyer that showed us how to do that document. We had it all in place, but you have to decide if you're willing to wait and see. If they approve these projects as they are, you have a short window of time to try to follow up against it. We also were involved in stopping the roundabout in Placerville. A group of us sued the city, and because they didn't follow any type of mitigation that was needed for that project. It was going to wipe out all the businesses in that area and a lot of other things, and they just recovered from all of the road projects that they had in the past. And so they were, there was about 20 business owners that went to the city and told them that they'd already killed their businesses. To do this roundabout would put the nail in the coffin. These owners had been there for 30 years, some of them, and they just pretty much spit in their face and said, we're going to do it anyway. So they went forward with the roundabout. We sued because they didn't, like I said, follow any mitigation. There's a lot of issues, and the judge said, you have to go back and do a real environmental impact report. And so now the county, or the city, just like Joel said, we could win. We won that battle. They had to pay us back all of our lawyer fees. But now they've just approved around $350,000 to move ahead to do an official environmental impact report. They don't get it. And so now we were just meeting last night in Placerville. How do we stop it? You know, it's really important. You don't realize how important it is to have 3 good people on these making decisions for you. You know, you assign these people to vote the way that you would expect them to vote so that you can go on with your lives. And it's not happening. I've been there for 5 years. I went there to fix a simple project, and I've been really angry watching the things that they do. And there's one more lawsuit that I didn't believe in lawyers. I've got a whole new perspective. Joel's been really great for the Alliance, and we sued the project that was in Missouri Flat because they were going to create an enormous hazard problem for Herbert Green with the traffic issues, that they were going to approve a project there that would have endangered the children at the school, and the county said, let the school fix the problem. And we were pretty ticked off, and so we sued one person who didn't have very much, took everything out of her savings to put to a lawyer to sue for that project, and we ended up winning. Well, we won because the lawyer had a big heart, and the developer knew that he had a horrible project, and we would have won hands down. So he backed off the project. But it's really important. These different options, they take a lot of work, and they can be done. And these guys don't want to step forward without knowing from the community what you want to go. And it will take all of you, if you pick any of those choices, to help follow any of that through. And like I said, all those things we did, we probably started out with 5 to 10 people. That you have a head start, and the amount of people in this room is just incredible for the things that you can do to make a difference. So again, thanks for letting me cut in, and I'm just in awe of your community.
I'd like to acknowledge Sue Taylor for her invaluable guidance for the Shingle Springs Community Alliance. Her efforts to save our county and her background knowledge on all of these subjects has provided incredible wealth of information and wisdom to the core committee of the Shingle Springs Community Alliance. So thank you, Sue. I also want to make 2 brief announcements. One is Supervisor Nutting is here tonight. He's asked that we tell you that his trial is now scheduled for February 4th. It's expected to last 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and the results will be due after.
We're going to win.
Okay, so Ray will be available for you to talk to after the meeting. And also at the meeting is the San Stino, the lead person for the San Stino development, Joel Karakten. And Joel, are you still here? There he is. And Joel has said that they're working on another alternative proposal that they will be bringing forward to the community for a community-wide meeting at some point in the future, but we don't know when. And so if you have any questions or comments, I'm sure Joel would be happy to talk to you after the meeting as well. So unless there's anything else, I think we can, there's a question over here.
I have a question. Okay, since the Sunset development was put in over there on Sunset Lane, I was just wondering if anybody knows about any increased crime or for the businesses around it? Very quiet. Is it?
Yeah, I would encourage people who have questions or concerns about the affordable housing units to talk to Mercy Housing. It's a nonprofit community development. They're very responsive. They have a lot of experience in successful management of affordable housing projects throughout Northern California. So that's a resource if you have questions to just go knock on the door of the management office. Yes, question?
Hi, I'm Emily Smith. I live off French Creek in Shingle Springs. And I wasn't hugely shocked when I saw the number 690 houses as a number that the developer has come back with. We all knew what that strategy was going to be. They come in with a massive number to freak us all out and then look like they're conceding. And that was probably actually the number they really had in mind in the first place, right? So what I don't understand is I've been to every single one of these meetings. I was sitting right about over there when we were all oriented this way. And they had that guy from MIG standing up there drawing. And at that time, we were talking about if you build the number of houses that the Shivers Web and White parcels are currently zoned for, there should be, we had miscalculated at the time, 128 houses. I've been informed since then it's actually about 101.
Yeah.
Okay, so we made it very clear as a community that the maximum number of houses we want is what the current zoning and land use designations allow. You're wasting our time. You say you're listening to us. You're not listening. Talk about not getting it. Where do you come up with 690? This is, you're wasting our time and our money. There are so many other nonprofits and groups that need our money and our time and our effort. This is a waste of our time.
Am I still on? Oh, I am. All right, I think it's time. Let's get those surveys filled out. We're going to get you out of here early. I have a date with some ice cream, so let's go.
Funny.